Hi everyone, welcome back to 51 GT3 Racing School. Today we are here at the Ningbo International Circuit showing you the racing track. Right now is a Thursday afternoon, which is usually reserved for drivers and engineers to walk the track. Although the simulator tracks nowadays are becoming more and more realistic, it is still very necessary to walk the track. Even the top drivers in the world still have this tradition. So why do we need to walk on the track? Follow me. For drivers, walking on the track is to check out all the details in the track, so as to come up with a good track strategy. In all races, the boundaries of the track are defined, which are the two white lines on the edge of the track. But all four wheels are not allowed to go beyond the white line altogether. So from the rules, as long as one side of the wheel is within the white line, it is in compliance with the rules, which enables us to utilize more track space. When we look at the track, we need to look for an area where the driver can utilize more space. With more space, the steering angle becomes smaller and the cornering speed will be faster. Behind me is the second corner of Ningbo. We need to check the structure of the road shoulder at the corner entry, where the road shoulder can be utilized, and how the grip may change. Next, I'll give you an example of how carefully drivers ought to check at the track. You can see that on my right-hand side is the white line, which is the boundary of the track. There are also several spaces on the outside of it. Then when the driver is looking at the track, he needs to determine which area can be utilized and which area to avoid. For example, the cement part outside the white line is actually the drainage of the track. And when the car passes here, the grip will not be affected too much. In other words, when the driver enters the corner, he can utilize this space to expand the arc when passing the corner. This is definitely a space that we can use. The other side is the shoulder of the road. There are some superimposed drops on it. When the vehicle is driven past here, the shock absorber will jump, reducing the grip, so we better not use this position. Generally speaking, the car follows the outer, inner and then outer lines when cornering, so that the arc can be pulled wider. A bigger arc means the car will go faster through the corners, so that's why all drivers look for the shoulders when they're on the track. When entering a corner, we can utilize the shoulder to get more space. Similarly, when passing the apex, the driver can also utilize the shoulder. But we first need to look at the shape of the targeted shoulder. Looking at the road shoulder here, in fact, the first half of it is relatively flat. There are some edges and bumps on this shoulder, but they won't affect too much because we turn left at this corner and the car will be leaning toward the right. Leaning to the right also means we get to utilize more shoulder spaces. The inner side of the entire road shoulder is relatively high, but this height will not scratch the chassis of our vehicle. If the driver utilizes this space to pass the apex, then that means he has successfully expanded his track space just by this precious little bit. At the same time, there will be some special shoulders on the track. For example, the shoulder in front of me is very high, and these are some continuous S-shaped corners coming up next. Generally speaking, for professional teams, the engineer will accompany the driver when walking on the track, because the engineer has to ask the driver whether the shoulder needs to be used to adjust the chassis height of the car. If the chassis is too low, it will definitely scratch the chassis when passing such a shoulder. Racing is a sport with attention to detail. So in order to get a better lap speed, professional teams and drivers will come up with a very detailed track strategy before every race. In addition to the road shoulder, there are many details in the track that we need to carefully observe. For example, some corners do not have a braking distance card, then we need to find a reference on the spot to determine where the driver should brake or steer. Ningbo International Circuit is a mountain race track with uphill and downhill drops. We then need to look for the uphills, the tops, the downhills, and their slopes, so that we can better take advantage of all these track conditions and get a better lap performance on different slopes. For example, the 15th corner of the Ningbo International Circuit is an uphill top, which is exactly the braking area. So the brakes are especially prone to lock when the car gets here. We then need to adjust the braking force to match the shape of the track. If it rains, we will have more to look out for, including the locations of the water, the lateral water flow, and the location with the better grip. So we see that it is difficult to check out the track and find details in the simulator. Therefore, walking on the track can help the driver to fully understand the details of the track and to better come up with a track strategy, and at the same time help the engineer to better adjust the car accordingly. That's all for today's episode. If you want to learn more about the technology of racing cars, let us know in the comments section. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.